All right, so let's start off with crunches. I continue to use crunches because they're very effective. Most people can do them with a high degree of proficiency, and they aren't the most functional of movements, but they give people a mind-body connection that's absolutely critical. So let's go over a few of my favorites. And I have a few pieces of equipment here close by, an exercise ball and a BOSU, which I'll show variations. You don't necessarily need those if you don't have them, but all of these same strategies can apply to those pieces of equipment. So let's start off with the floor crunch. Laying down flat on your floor, feet are elevated, low backs pushed into the ground. That's a critical component. And when we're doing a crunch, we visualize shortening the distance between sternum and navel. So arms are crossed, you're rounding up. Or if the neck gets tired, we can support the head and neck, same movement here. The objective, again, is shortening sternum to navel, bringing the shoulder blades off the ground as we come up, as opposed to a lot of people want to go into a full sit-up all the way up. And that's completely different, integrates different muscle groups. So a couple variations of that I always practice is also a crunch hold where we round up and just hold that isometric position at the top of the motion. A couple variations, we'll use the exercise ball as well if you have one of those at home. Get the low back into the center of the ball, feet are hips width distance. From here we round up or support the head and neck. On the BOSU, center point, that's where you want the low back. And this is where we get a little tricky. Crunch is very isolated. If you're finding yourself sitting all the way up, so sit up, okay, that robs the abs of the work. Keep the movement short. Little tip, exhale as you come up on a crunch, creates a little room for that movement, exhaling out. Couple variations, I always do that bicycle variation of crunches, which can be done on the floor or a BOSU, and that's opposite elbow to knee. Since we're working on the BOSU, to show that, we use the hand for support. If you're on the floor, you don't necessarily need to do that. Opposite elbow knee. You can do the same thing on an exercise ball, but you have to make sure you hold on to something. So on the floor, for that crunch, if we're doing that bicycle variation, it's here to here. Again, supporting the head and neck. Crunches are effective. Make sure you're feeling a nice burn in there, in the rectus abdominis, in the deep core as well as normal. And when we get those rotational movements, we also get the oblique wall.